Hey everybody, happy Monday. Welcome to today's update on Daily IoT. Just finished watching game one, Caps versus Tampa Bay Lightning. Beautiful, beautiful game. Caps came out strong. I think Tampa Bay came out a little cocky, which worked to our advantage. Anyway, ended up winning that one tonight, 4-2. Game two on Sunday. Just it was a great start to the series, so I'm in a good mood. Thought I'd come down, turn the camera on, and film a quick episode that can drop on today, Monday. And so what I want to talk about on today's episode is batteries and the considerations that we have when sticking a battery in our puck project. And so if you remember when I was testing this and prototyping, I was using this little, I thought it was a 480 milliamp hour battery for some reason. I say that in a past video, but it's actually 400. I don't know if you can actually see that, 400 milliamp hour. And you know, I got lots of, it's like 180 or something check-ins with the particle photon, and so well beyond a single season as far as number of updates. But there's other things that go into this that I figured out from the predictable hardware report that I got from Predictable Designs, and now that I'm working with Agility, some other things that we've been talking about. Lots of things to consider when using a battery. The one that I was focusing the most on, I talked about in a previous episode, was quiescent current. And this is the amount of current that it draws just sitting there doing nothing and turning the 4.2 or whatever volts from the battery into 3.3 system voltage for our puck. Now, that's going to be some amount of current that it's drawing all the time, and that needs to be really, really low, obviously, so that it's not too high to drain the battery quickly. And so that was the thing that I was focusing the most on. Agility has been working on the layout. We've got a version done, sort of like a V1 stab at the final schematic, which I'm really excited about. But to get there, we've talked a bunch about battery life. And so not just quiescent current. The first thing that we were talking about was, how long do you want the charge to be? They were asking me some questions about that, and I was like, I don't know, it takes like 2 hours or something to charge it here on my desk. What I was not thinking about, however, is when you take this lithium-ion battery, stick it inside a case, inside a hockey puck, close it off, no vent, that you've got to dissipate the heat somehow into the through the case and into the puck. So they pointed out you can't charge this thing too fast like on the desk. You can't max out the current and just have it dissipate heat into the ambient air. You gotta charge it nice and slow so this thing doesn't turn into a Galaxy Note and catch on fire. And so that's an interesting thing. Charge time is going to be a little longer than I was thinking in my head, and it makes sense. I could try to ventilate it, but I feel like that ruins the aesthetics a little bit, and I'm okay with, if I get the battery life I'm looking for, I'm okay with that charge being a longer time. And so that's one thing to consider, heat dissipation while charging. The other thing that I found out, and that we've worked with an application engineer with that works on batteries, is that, and this makes perfect sense to me now that I think about it, is that lithium-ion batteries are not meant for low power, long life battery applications. And that is because of another property of lithium-ion batteries, which I knew about but had forgotten, which is self-discharge. This thing just sitting here in my hand right now is constantly losing charge. And so self-discharge rates for lithium-ion batteries can be anywhere from like low single digit, like 3 to 5%, all the way up to like 15% or more on like a really crappy battery, which means just sitting there on your desk doing nothing, not even plugged into anything, it's losing capacity, losing that charge over time every month. And so it'll eventually just go to dead on its own without any load on it. And now this is different than your little AA's that you buy from the store that, you know, you can stick in the fridge or even just on a shelf and they'll last for 10, 15 years. You put them in, they're brand new, ready to go. Lithium ion's not that way, and so it's not generally recommended for long life battery applications. Things like your phone that you expect to charge every few days, not a big deal. But and so we did a little bit of discussion back and forth of whether we wanted to try to use a fixed primary battery, but then you'd have to change it as a user, and I don't really like that idea. I like sort of the aesthetics of the puck being sealed up, having a USB jack on the side, and that the user could charge through that. And so ran into some math problem, physics problems, I should say, not math problems, about how long the battery will last with things like self-discharge, quiescent current. The sleep current on the P1 is like 100 microamps. And so all these things add up, and drawing 24 hours a day, even though it's mostly asleep, You've got the 100 microamp sleep current from the P1. You've got the charging circuit that's going to consume some amount of power. The battery is self-discharging, and then the quiescent current of like the voltage regulator. All these things turn out to shorten the battery life. And so this small little 400 milliamp hour battery is not going to be enough. And so what we're looking at now, the direction that I think we're going to end up going in, is just a bigger battery. We could try to look at a fixed battery option. I still just don't love that. But I could change my mind. We could make some of these, get some feedback from some actual users that maybe we can change that up. But for now, moving forward, we're going to go with a bigger capacity battery to get the amount of battery life that I'm looking for. It does not look like it's going to make it a full season. Most of that, frankly, due to self-discharge. We also have some ideas that we can try to implement to lower the sleep current of the P1, but for now, it looks like we're going to need to do like an all-star break charge it up right before the Stanley Cup playoffs. Still, I think, very good battery life, given that this is mainly just sitting there on your desk, looking awesome. And so, anyway, that's it. That's the battery update for today. Question of the day: if you have worked on projects or a product, where do you source that uses a lithium-ion battery? Where have you sourced those batteries? I found that there's not really any place in the United States that is sourcing batteries, which isn't too surprising, but like thousands of options in China, and I feel like it's kind of a crapshoot of whether you're going to get a good battery or get one of these things that has some defect that ends up lighting the puck on fire on people's desks. And so I'm really concerned about making sure I pick a good, solid, reliable battery because I want this thing to be completely trouble-free. So that's the question of the day. Where do you source your lithium-ion batteries? Prior to this, my answer to that question has just been like SparkFun and Adafruit. Obviously not someplace that you can source volume parts from. It's not meant for that. It's more for maker stuff. So anyway, that's the question of the day. I appreciate everybody watching. If you're finding this journey interesting or useful, please hit that subscribe button. It would really mean a lot to me. And if you do, please send me an email, kevin@sidwar.com. I would love to hear from you. Tell me why you subscribed, where you're from, just so I can make a connection with you. Would really appreciate it. Otherwise, until next time, thanks again for watching Daily IoT, the show where together we're learning how to make the Internet of Things one day at a time. Go Caps.